chant and dance as much as possible in this human form of life.
So thank you so much. Thank you all for joining this morning. Thank you for the association. I hope you're keeping safe. Please do take precautions, keep safe, and keep your family and loved ones safe as well. And we'll start the program now. We have a very distinguished guest this morning with us. Thanks to our Adarya Gaurachandra Prabhu. We have His Grace Arjun Sakhadas, and I would request Adarya Gaurachandra Prabhu to please introduce him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Narayan Keshav Prabhu. So obviously today is the most auspicious appearance day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Yesterday was the divine appearance of Sri Vaman Dev and Srila Jiva Goswami. So today we are all very fortunate to have His Grace Arjun Sakha Prabhu with us. For those that don't know, he is a disciple of His Holiness Radha Govinda Das Goswami. He may only be 24 years old, but he is very, very mature in his Krishna consciousness, inspiring, so many ISKCON communities, all over the world. He's currently working at Microsoft, having a master's in information systems. He's got Bhakti Sashi's degree from ISKCON Chowpatty. And, we were listening to a class and Marinder Prabhu was explaining that a wonderful quality about his younger brother is that he's so attentive, when it comes to hearing, from the beginning of class to the end of class. And it's no wonder why he can speak so well. And it's nice to hear our youth being, attracted to hearing. So we're very grateful to you, Prabhu, for accepting our invite. I know it's 3 o'clock in the morning there in Seattle, USA. So thank you and welcome. Hare Krishna.
Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahaya Hemavadivya Chavisundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. So before I begin, I would humbly want to prostrate myself at the holy lotus feet of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, at the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Srila Radha Govinda Goswami Maharaj, and at the lotus feet of all the disciples of Srila Prabhupada and the whole of Gaudiya Guru Varga, from whose work, lectures, and morning walks I will be presenting today's discussion. I would also want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers of the Family Sangha, the Sunday Family Sangha at ISKCON Birmingham. Thank you so much, Audari Gauranga Prabhu, for very kindly having me here. And thank you to all the devotees who have kindly assembled here. Please pray so that I may speak something in line with our Gaudiya Acharyas and our Gaudiya Siddhanta. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Just a very friendly caution before I begin. As Audare Gauranga Prabhu said, it's 3 a.m. for me here in Seattle, in the west coast of America. So, dear devotees, please do not be shocked if I doze off in between while speaking. The time is such that it's very natural for me to doze off. So the last few days have been really power-packed as far as the Vaishnava calendar is concerned. We see on Friday was the auspicious occasion of Ekadashi. Yesterday was the auspicious occasion of Vaman Dwadashi. Today happens to be the appearance day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Tomorrow happens to be the disappearance day of Srila Haridas Thakur. And finally on Tuesday is Vishwarup Mahotsav, the day our beloved Srila Prabhupada took sannyas at Keshavji Gaudiya Math in 1959. So we see that all 5 days are very power-packed. And it was extremely difficult for me to choose as to which topic I can address for the devotees here at ISKCON Birmingham. But then finally I decided to speak on this topic of Bali and Vaman Dev. So as we see, I had given the topic of big things come from small packages. They come in small packages. So the Supreme Lord, he initially came very small. He came as Upendra, but then later he expanded himself and became Urukram. He became Trivikram. So big things, they come in small packages. So this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam of Bali and Vaman, this section of Bali Maharaj and Vaman Dev will be the topic of our discussion. In the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1.3.28, there is a very famous and a landmark verse which comes up. Ete cham sakala pumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayantim Yuge Yuge. One of the very famous verses from the first canto. Ete cham sakala pumsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Who's Bhagavan? Krishna is Bhagavan. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna brooks no competitor. Krishna has no competitor, absolutely. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Indra Ari. So Ari in Sanskrit means enemy. Indra Ari, the enemy of Indra. So many times we see that the demigods, especially Indra, falls into trouble. But the Supreme Lord is so kind that even though Indra commits mistake, the Lord is very kind to come down to rescue the demigods. A similar point is made even by our Prayojan Acharya, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami says, Surapati Krita Dirga Drohato Goshta Raksham Tava Navagraha Rupa Syantare Kurvataiva Agabaka Ripunochair Dattamana Drutam Me Nija Nikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatvam. This is the Govardhan Vas Prarthana Dashakam by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, where Raghunath Das Goswami is beseeching Govardhan that, my dear Govardhan, please give me an opportunity to live at your foothill. But a very interesting point here is made. He says, Surapati. So Surapati is Indra, the king of all the demigods. Surapati Krita Dirga Drohato. When Indra, he was showering torrential rains in Brajmandal, in Vrindavan, the life of the Brajavasis were completely at stake. It so happened that the whole of Brajmandal was almost flooded and the Brajavasis' life were at stake. And Indra was showering torrential rains. So at that time, the Brajavasis turned towards Krishna, like they always do. They turned towards Krishna, and Krishna decided that it is time to protect the Brajavasis. So Surapati Krita Dirga Drohato Goshta Raksham. Krishna decided to do Raksha. Tava Navagraha Rupa Syantare Kurvataiva. How did Krishna protect? He decided to lift the Giriraj Govardhan. And Giriraj, he became a Tava Navagraha. He became a new house, a new home for all the Brajavasis. Tava Navagraha Rupas Syantare Kurvataiva. So an interesting point is made by Raghunath Das Goswami. When Indra commits a mistake, when Indra is committing an offense, the Supreme Lord is not killing him. But what the Supreme Lord is doing is he is just chastising. He is giving feedbacks. He is giving corrections by lifting the Giriraj. But he is not killing Indra. But the same activity of attacking, when the demons do, Agabaka Ripunochair Dattamana Drutam me, when Aga and Baka, Aghasur and Bakasur, and not just these two demons, all the demons in the form of Putana, Shakatasur, Trunavarta, etc. Agabaka Ripunochair, when they attack the Brajavasis, when they attack Krishna, what does Krishna do? Ripunochair, he rips them apart. You see, it's very close to our English language. Ripunochair and rip. So when Indra commits a mistake, Krishna doesn't kill him, but Krishna provides some feedback and correction. But the same mistake when the demons commit, when they attack the Brajavasis, Krishna rips them apart. Agabaka Ripunochair Dattamanav Drutam me. So an interesting analogy is made as to how the Supreme Lord treats the demigods and the demons. And for this reason, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami and even the 10th canto of Bhagavatam describes Govardhan as Haridas Avarya, the best among servants, because Govardhan was such a servant. He was ready to take severe lashes upon his head in the form of thunderbolts, in the form of torrential rains. He was ready to completely suffer, but he did not let the Brajavasis drown in the anguish of Indra's torrential rain. So this is the best example of a high-class Vaishnava, Haridas Avarya, who was ready to take all suffering to himself, but was not ready to see the Brajavasis in pain. So in this way, Bali Maharaj is another example of a very high-class devotee, one of the 12 Mahajans. This section of Bali and Vaman, dear devotees, it comes in the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. As we know, there are 12 cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and in the 8th canto, this section of Bali and Vaman is presented by Shukadev Goswami. And this is a very interesting canto because this canto starts with the pastime of Gajendra and it ends with the pastime of Matsya Dev, the Matsya fish incarnation. And sandwiched in between these two pastimes of Gajendra and Matsya is this beautiful pastime of Bali Maharaj and Vaman Dev. So in this world, we find there are two kinds of people. Those who are godly, those who are saintly, and those who are ungodly or demoniac. Two kinds of people are always seen. Now, an interesting question is, how is this category decided? Is it decided based on birth? Is it classified based on birth? Srila Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says, no. Those who are godly and those who are ungodly, this is not classified based on birth. And he gives a very brilliant verse to signify this point. He says, Shuchi hoy, muchi hoy, jadi Krishna tyaje. Muchi hoy, shuchi hoy, jadi Krishna bhaje. Kaviraj Goswami says, Shuchi. So Shuchi means someone who is very pure, comes in a very Brahminical background. Shuchi hoy, muchi hoy. Muchi means abominable, very low class. Shuchi hoy, muchi hoy, jadi Krishna tyaje. A Shuchi becomes a muchi if he gives up the service of Shri Krishna. If he gives up this process of bhakti, then a Shuchi becomes a muchi. While on the flip side, muchi hoy, shuchi hoy, jadi Krishna bhaje. A muchi who is very low class becomes a high class, that is Shuchi, if he accepts the worship of Shri Krishna. So godly and ungodly nature is not classified based on birth, but it is based on our activities. And Bali Maharaj is such an example who is divine as far as his personality is concerned, but by the will of providence, by the will of Supreme Lord, interestingly, he fights from the side of the demons. And dear devotees, it is very interesting as to how this whole drama unfolds, as to how the Supreme Lord, he comes down as Vaman Dev. So the history goes that Bali Maharaj was fighting, he was in a battle with the demigods, and it so happened that the demigods were powerful and they overpowered Bali Maharaj, and Bali was severely wounded in this battle. So naturally his guru, that is Shukracharya, he came to his rescue. Now it's a very interesting thing, dear devotees. As far as astrological part is concerned, this whole pastime of Bali and Vaman, they have a beautiful significance as far as astrology is concerned. We can draw very beautiful parallels with astrology. Shukracharya, as far as astrology is concerned, he denotes or he symbolizes, signifies this planet of Venus. Now, Venus is such a planet that if someone has very high Venus in their chart, in their astrological chart, then the characteristics that are seen is they'll be very much materialistic. The desire for cars, the desire for house, the desire for luxury, the desire for amenities, that keeps on increasing. This is a quality of someone who has high Venus in their chart. And Shukracharya, he is the presiding deity for Venus. Now, dear devotees, on the contrary, you have Brihaspati, who is the guru for the demigods. And Brihaspati, he symbolizes the planet Jupiter. And it is seen as far as astrological chart is concerned that those who have high Jupiter, the characteristics seen are their desire for more education, their desire to gain more knowledge, wisdom, the temptations, the urge to control their senses is very high. So you see, as far as characteristics are concerned, it's very opposite. They're on the two sides of the spectrum. On one side, we have Shukracharya, who is symbolizing the planet Venus, and someone who has Venus in their chart, they'll be very much materialistic. But on the flip side, you have Brihaspati, who is the guru for the demigods, who is representing the planet Jupiter. And anyone who has high Jupiter is very saintly, very education oriented, very knowledgeable, is very wise. So the characteristics are completely opposite. And naturally, the guru or the deity who is presiding also have characteristics that are completely opposite. So Shukracharya and Brihaspati are poles apart. They are in the two ends of the spectrum. So now, in this battle between Bali Maharaj and the demigods, when Bali Maharaj was wounded, Shukracharya immediately came to the rescue of Bali Maharaj. And he revived Bali Maharaj. And for this, Bali Maharaj was very grateful to Shukracharya. And it is said that Shukracharya, he used the medicinal herb Sanjeevani, the Sanjeevani herb. And dear devotees, this is the same herb that in the future, when Lakshman will fall to the ground because of the arrow of Indrajit, this is the same herb that he will take shelter of. This is the same herb that Hanuman, he went and brought. So even in this case, we find when Bali was wounded, Shukracharya took help of the Sanjeevani and he revived Bali Maharaj. And now when Bali Maharaj was revived, naturally, because the demigods defeated him, he had the sense of overpowering and defeating the demigods, especially Indra, because he is the king of all the demigods. So Shukracharya, who is the guru, he infused Shakti in the heart of Bali Maharaj, and he helped him perform many sacrifices, many yagyas, and because of which Bali became very strong. And now, when Bali Maharaj was doing yagyas and he was doing sacrifices, there was one person who was very anxious, whose position was completely at stake. That was none other than Indra. Indra was so anxious because he knew that if Bali would continue sacrifices this way, if he would continue yagyas this way, it's only a matter of time that he's going to take the position of Indra. So Indra became very anxious. Now, dear devotees, Indra is a very special character. He's very special personality. In the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we have this beautiful pastime of Vritrasur, where time and again we find Indra's mention. Indra commits a Brahma Hatya, and to wash his sin, he goes to Vishwarup. And Vishwarup is actually doing a yagya to help Indra, but it so happens that Vishwarup is chanting mantras, not just for the demigods, but also for the demons. He's chanting a few mantras for the demigods and he's chanting a few mantras for the demons. So when Indra comes to know, he becomes very furious. And he looks at Vishwarup and says, hey, I thought you are working for me, but seems like you're also helping the demons. So immediately he took his sword and cut the 3 heads of Vishwarup. So already because of Indra, this was the 2nd death that took place. Now to wash off his sin, he goes to Vishnu. And Vishnu gives him the suggestion to approach Dadichi Muni. Now Dadichi Muni is a very exalted sadhu who was doing penance. And Indra, he goes to Dadichi Muni and says, my dear Dadichi Muni, can you please die? Because only if you die can I make a thunderbolt from your bones. So can you please die? And when Dadichi hears this and he understands that this is the will of the Lord, Dadichi gives up his body. So now because of Indra, there is a 3rd personality who loses his life. And Indra wants to build a thunderbolt from the bones of Dadichi only to kill Vritrasur. Now Vritrasur, as his name suggests, it seems as if he's an asura, but actually he's a divine personality. He's a very pure soul. So when Vritrasur manifested from the yagya, Indra looked at Vritrasur in complete anger. But here was Vritrasur looking at Indra, having no envy in his heart. And at that time, to Indra's surprise, to add more salt, to rub salt to his wound, here was Vritrasur, not a demon, but a Mahabhagat Vaishnava, chanting beautiful verses in the glorification of Sri Krishna. This is seen, dear devotees, in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam, 6, 11, 24, 25, 26, 27, the Chatushloki of the Bhagavatam. Vritrasur very beautifully chants, Aham hareta vapadekamulam dasanu daso bhavitasmi bhuya manasmareta supater gunamste grinhitava karma karotu kaya nana kaprishtham nacha parameshtyam na sarvabhaumam narasadhipatyam na yoga siddhira punarbhavam va samanjasatva virahaya kankshi. In this way, Vritrasur keeps chanting, and Indra is perplexed and is surprised. So after he has killed 3 personalities, here was Indra about to kill a very pure Vaishnava in the form of Vritrasur. So that was Canto 6, dear devotees. Now in Canto 7, Hiranyakashipu comes and kicks Indra out. So Indra is the king of the heaven, but Hiranyakashipu comes and kicks him out. In the 8th canto, we find Bali Maharaj comes and again kicks him out. So Indra is always having this problem. He's always anxious about his position. Once when our dear Krishna was in Dwaraka, he was sitting with Rukmini. And at that time, there was an ant that was crawling. And Krishna looked at that ant and started laughing. So when Rukmini saw this, Rukmini looked at Krishna and said, my dear Krishna, why are you laughing looking at this ant? To that, the Supreme Lord, he replied that this ant has become Indra 28 times. Like an elevator, like a lift. He's going up, he's coming down, he's going up, he's coming down. Sometimes he's becoming Indra, sometimes he's becoming an ant. Like an elevator is going up and down, but still the thirst for sense gratification has not gone after becoming Indra 28 times. So Krishna was laughing, seeing the predicament of Indra. So you see, 6th canto, Indra is there. 7th canto, Hiranyakashipu kicks him out. 8th canto, Bali kicks him out. 9th canto, Indra has little break. But in the 10th canto, again, the Govardhan Puja, the Govardhan pastime, where Indra is at fault. So time and again in the Bhagavatam, in different sections, we find that Indra has committed so many mistakes. Dear devotees, why is Shukadev Goswami narrating all these mistakes of Indra? They are only so that we don't fall victim, so that we don't commit those same mistakes that Indra committed. Indra has already committed mistakes and he has understood from his fault. But if we again commit the same mistakes, then that is not very correct. So Shukadev Goswami, who is so compassionate, he is narrating all these pastimes so that we don't commit the same mistakes that Indra committed. So in this way, we find Indra's position was now at stake, and Bali Maharaj, he gained so much strength that he overpowered and kicked Indra out from his position, and Bali Maharaj acquired the heavens. So now naturally in this world also we find when the child is in anxiety, when the child is distressed, it is very natural that the mother also is distressed. Seldom do we find that the child is distressed and the mother is not distressed. But in most cases we find when the child is unhappy, when the child has some sorrow in his heart, naturally the mother also feels the pain in her heart. And exactly in this case, dear devotees, seeing the position of Indra, seeing that Indra has lost everything to Bali, the mother of the demigods, that is Mother Aditi, she decides to besiege the Supreme Lord. And she besieges the Supreme Lord by performing Payovrat. She performs the Payovrat sacrifice, and seeing her tapasya, seeing her sincerity, seeing her austerity, the Supreme Lord becomes very satisfied. And it is on the day of Dwadashi, that is yesterday, dear devotees, that the Supreme Lord, he appeared as Vaman Dev. Shronayam Shravana Dwadashyam, on the day of Dwadashi. So today is Trayodashi. So yesterday on the day of Dwadashi, the Supreme Lord, he appeared as Vaman Dev. And it is said he appeared as Upendra. So naturally a question arises, oh, what is Upendra? What does Upendra mean? So Upa in Sanskrit has two meanings. The first prominent meaning that we have heard is Upavas. Upa means near and Vasa means to sit. That day, Ekadashi is that day where we keep aside everything and we sit near to our superiors and hear Hari Katha. Upavas, to sit near, to give up everything and to sit near and hear Hari Katha is called as Upavas. But this Upa has another meaning. Upa also means a smaller version. So he was called as Upendra because he was a smaller version of Indra. Indra was the older brother, and the Supreme Lord, he came as Upendra, the younger brother of Indra and the son of Mother Aditi. So our Acharyas, Srila Shukadev Goswami, he says, just like an actor, you see, we have actors, and based on time, place, and circumstances, they very naturally, very effortlessly, they change their attire, they change their costume. But it all boils down to the time, place, and circumstances. Similarly, Shukadev Goswami says, the Supreme Lord, based on time, place, and circumstance, he changes his attire. Sometimes he comes as Matsya, as a fish. Sometimes he comes in the form of a tortoise. Sometimes he comes in the form of a boar. So different incarnations, the Lord comes in different attire, just like an actor. changes his dress. Babuvate naiva sa vamano vatu. The Lord, he came as vatu. He came as a dwarf. So in the previous incarnation, if we see, before Vamandev was the incarnation, the appearance of Narsinghadev. And when Narsinghadev appeared, dear devotees, he was so ferocious. Satyam vidhatum nijabritya bhashitam vyaptim cha bhuteshva akhileshu chatmanah adrishyatam adbhutarupamudvahan sthambe sabhayam namrgam namanusham. Shukadev Goswami says, oh, how was Narsinghadev? Sthambe sabhayam namrgam namanusham. He broke open the pillar. He came out from the pillar in front of the whole assembly. And what was his form? Namrgam namanusham. He was not an animal and not a human. He was a mixture, half man, half lion. So when the Lord, in the previous incarnation, he appeared as Narsinghadev, he was so ferocious that even the demigods, they knew that Narsinghadev is not different from Vishnu. But even the demigods were very fearful to approach the Supreme Lord as Narsinghadev. But in the next incarnation, we find the Lord came in a much more peaceful form. He came in a nice Brahmin boy, very chubby, very sweet, and he was much more approachable for each and every one. And naturally, when he came down as Vaman, the demigods were so eager, because in the previous incarnation, they couldn't offer prayers. They couldn't do anything for the Lord. So now, when the Lord, he appeared as Vaman Dev, the demigods were so eager that Brihaspati, who is the guru for the demigods, he offered the sacred Brahminical thread. Surya Dev chanted Gayatri in the ear. Kubera, he gave the begging pot. Brahmaji gave the kamandalu. Bhumi Devi gave the deer skin. Kashyapa, he gave the straw belt. Chandra, he gave the danda, and so on and so forth. Various demigods came ahead to give the Lord different gifts and different paraphernalias, because they were all happy and excited to see this very small, cute, chubby incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So when the Lord appeared, he came down, and it is said, this Supreme Lord, Vamandev, he walked his way to the sacrifice where Bali Maharaj was there with his Guru Shukracharya. So basically, Bali Maharaj was performing a sacrifice with his Guru Shukracharya and many other sages. And the Supreme Lord, he decided to walk to that place. This sacrifice was going on at Bhrigu Kshetra on the banks of river Narmada. And Shukadev Goswami very brilliantly says that don't go by the external appearance of the Lord. Even though the Lord looked very small, but it is said every step that he was taking, Mother Earth was practically being pushed down. So Shukadev Goswami says, don't go by the external appearance. The Lord, like an actor, comes in different forms. But the important point to understand is Ete Chamsa Kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. He is that same Bhagavan. He is that same Krishna. But now, for the pastime, for the sake of this beautiful pastime, Krishna is coming in the form of a dwarf. The same point we see, dear devotees, even in the pastime of the fruit seller. Krishna is Sarva Phala Prada. He provides fruits to everyone. That personality who provides fruits to everyone was now begging for fruits to the fruit seller. So it's very interesting. Our acharyas say that the fruit seller, she came with all her fruits to Vrindavan. She came to Braj Mandal with all her fruits, but she was so enamored by the beauty of Krishna that instead of selling her fruits, she was saying, oh, Govind Lelo, Gopal Lelo, Madhav Lelo, Damodar Lelo. And she was beautifully chanting the names of the Supreme Lord. She was chanting, Govinda Damodar Madhaveti, Govinda Damodar Madhaveti, Govinda Damodhar Madhaveti, Govinda Damodhar Madhaveti. The fruit seller completely forgot the reason why she came. She forgot her business of selling fruits because she was so enamored by the beauty that all that her tongue vibrated were the names of Sri Krishna. So in that pastime, Srila Shukadev Goswami says, the Supreme Lord, who is Sarva Phalapradam, he provides all the fruits to everyone, has now become Phalarti. He is now begging for fruits from the fruit seller. So this point is again emphasized, dear devotees, to not go by the external appearance. The Lord comes in different forms, but Shukadev Goswami is hammering the same point, that don't go by the external appearance of the Lord. When the Lord came as Vamandev, he was equally as powerful as Narsinghadev or any of the previous incarnations. So in this way, the Supreme Lord, he entered the sacrificial arena. And when he entered the sacrificial arena, the light emanating from his body was so effulgent that all the sages, including Shukracharya and Bali, they thought as if Suryadev himself has come to grace their sacrifice, because the Lord was emanating, there was so much light coming from his body. So in this way, the Lord entered, and Bali Maharaj, he looked at the beautiful form, the Brahmin boy, and he decided to worship the Brahmin boy. And as etiquette, what he first did was he washed the lotus feet of the Brahmana, because at this point, Bali Maharaj did not know that Vamandev is the Supreme Lord. He considered him like a Brahman boy because he had a beautiful Brahminical thread. So he considered him a very nice Brahman boy, and he decided to wash his feet. Now, this is a very interesting point. Srila Kaviraj Goswami, he makes 3 points in one of the chapters of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he says that these 3 things can act as a catalyst. If anyone wants to advance in bhakti, if anyone wants to make rapid progress in this path of spirituality, then there are 3 things Kaviraj Goswami says. Kaviraj Goswami, he says, Bhakta pada dhuliyara bhakta pada jal, bhakta bhukta avashesha tini mahabal. Kaviraj Goswami is saying, Bhakta pada dhuli, the dust from the lotus feet of a pure Vaishnav. Bhakta pada jal, the water that has washed the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. This is precisely what Bali Maharaj was doing. He was washing the lotus feet of Vamandev. So Bhakta pada dhuli, the dust from the lotus feet of a Vaishnav. Bhakta pada jal, the water that has washed the lotus feet of a Vaishnav. Bhakta pada dhuliyara, bhakta pada jal, bhakta bhukta avashesha, the remnants, the prasad remnants of a pure Vaishnav. Bhakta bhukta avashesha tini mahabal. Kaviraj Goswami says these 3 things, they are strong catalysts. If accepted in one's life, they can help the sadhaka make leaps and bounds of spiritual progress. The dust from the lotus feet of a pure Vaishnav, the water that has washed the lotus feet of a pure Vaishnav, and the food remnants, the prasad remnants of a pure Vaishnav. And Bali Maharaj was doing one of them. He was washing the lotus feet of Vamandev. And after the lotus feet was nicely washed, Bali Maharaj, he looked at Vamandev and he said, my dear Lord, oh my dear Brahmana, I can see a begging pot in your hand. So it seems like you have come to beg. You have come to ask me something. Please ask whatever you want. Is there anything that I can fulfill? Is there anything that I can give you? And because Vamandev is very small, he's Upendra. So Bali Maharaj, he gives a suggestion. Do you want gam? Do you want cows? Do you want kanchanam? Do you want gold? Do you want a nice house, a nice furnished house? Do you want a grihani? Do you want a nice bride, a wife? Do you want any of these things? Oh, dear Brahmana, ask whatever you want. I can fulfill your desire. At this point, it's interesting. I would like to take a very small detour. We find, as far as the family lineage is concerned, we have Hiranyakashipu, whose son is Prahlad, whose son is Virochan, and Virochan's son is Bali Maharaj. So when Bali Maharaj is present, when this pastime is occurring, Prahlad Maharaj is also present. He is also wandering around in this occasion of Bali and Vaman Samvad. So now someone can have this question. In the 7th canto, Prahlad Maharaj was saying, Hitvatma pakam grahamanda kupam vanam gatoya harimashrayeta. In the 7th canto, he was telling his father that, my dear father, give up everything, whatever you have, and go to the forest. Go to the forest and chant the holy names, meditate on Vishnu. So in the 7th canto, he's giving instructions to his father. So now someone can have this question. In the 7th canto, he's giving instruction to live in the forest. But now with his grandson, he's living in opulent palaces. He's living a luxurious life. So how to reconcile this? Srila Prabhupada reconciles this. He answers by saying, Prahlad Maharaj has a beautiful quality by the name Prashanta. He is sober. He is not affected by any of these opulences. Even though he's living around opulences, Prahlad Maharaj is not attracted to any of them. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have another example to substantiate this point, dear devotees. The example of Rai Ramananda. Ramananda Rai was the governor of the Madras province. But still in the Rai Ramananda Samvad, we find Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he's talking with Rai Ramananda, he clearly makes this point that even though Rai Ramananda is the governor of the Madras province, still he's not Vishayi. He is not attached to any of the sense objects. Another example is Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami was the son of a zamindar, Govardhan Mazumdar's son, coming from such an illustrious family. But still, Raghunath Das Goswami gave up everything to go and be with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So time and again, we find different examples where there have been people who have had a lot of wealth, a lot of opulences, but still they were not attached. Another example, dear devotees, again from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the fountainhead of our Sampradaya, Rupa Goswami. When Rupa Goswami wanted to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave up the service of Nawab Hussain Shah. He gave up his service. Whatever money he had in the form of gold biscuits, not parley biscuits, they were gold biscuits. Rupa Goswami gave up everything. And when Rupa with his brother Anupam, they met the Supreme Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kaviraj Goswami describes Vallabha Bhatt was also present at that time. So naturally, Vallabha Bhatt saw Rupa Goswami and was so happy that he went ahead to embrace Rupa Goswami. So at that time, Rupa and his brother Anupam, they began to run. Bhatta mili barayai dui palaye dure, asprishya pamara moi na chuya more. Kaviraj Goswami describes that when Vallabha Bhatt, Bhatta mili barayai, when Bhatta went to meet Dui palaye dure, both brothers started running. And Rupa Goswami said, Asprishya pamara moi na chuya more. My dear Vallabha Bhatt, I'm asprishya. I'm untouchable. And I'm pamara. I'm very low. Na chuya more. Please don't touch me. I'm very low and untouchable. So question arises, why is Rupa Goswami saying this? And to that Prabhupada answers by saying, because Rupa Goswami worked for Nawab Hussain Shah, he considered himself very abominable. He considered himself very low class. So even though he had all the wealth, even though Rupa Goswami had all the luxury, when the time came, he gave up everything to illustrate this point that he was not attached to anything. So 3 examples we saw from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, one of Rai Ramananda, Raghunath Das Goswami, and Srila Rupa Goswami. So Prahlad Maharaj again, even though he was living in the company of Bali Maharaj, who was living a very opulent life, Still, because he was prashanta, he was sober, he was not affected by the opulence. So at this point, Bali Maharaj, when he has asked this question to Vamandev, Vamandev says, oh, I don't want any of these things. I don't want any of these things. I just want 3 steps, Trini Padani. Just give me 3 steps. I don't want anything else. So Bali Maharaj hears this and says, 3 steps? The Supreme Lord says, yes, 3 steps. So at that point, Bali Maharaj, he raises this question, 3 steps, but based on whose measurement? Whose feet has to be measured? And the Lord says, based on my feet's measurement. So when Bali Maharaj hears this, he's perplexed and he says, you are a dwarf. Seems like you are very childish. You don't know what to ask. I think I'll have to teach you, because 3 steps based on the measurement of a dwarf, what will you get? You will not get anything. You have come to me. I can give you heavenly planets. I can give you whatever you want. And you are asking for 3 steps of land? Seems like you are very childish. You don't know to ask. At this point, Bali Maharaj was thinking to himself that if I do not provide this Brahmana, then it should not happen that he goes ahead and he again begs to someone. Because if the Brahmana again goes and begs to someone else, they will feel to themselves that Bali did not give proper charity. That's the reason this boy is begging here and there. So Bali was feeling for himself that if I do not give proper charity, this child will keep begging. So Bali Maharaj said, ask for something big. Don't ask for this 3 steps of land. At that time, the Lord makes a very interesting proposition. The Lord, he makes a very interesting understanding. He says that, my dear Bali, someone may possess the whole world, they may possess the whole universe, but if their mind is uncontrolled, if they have uncontrolled senses, then even if they possess everything, they will not be happy. But on the flip side, there may be someone who do not possess anything, who may be an absolute beggar, a pauper. But if he has controlled mind, a controlled senses, then he is very happy. So it's not based on the opulence that you possess, but it is based on how controlled or uncontrolled the mind and the senses are. Very interesting point the Supreme Lord makes. He says, for this reason, my dear Bali, just give me 3 steps of land. I will be happy with 3 steps of land. Don't give me anything else. So when Bali hears this, he agrees. And when he's about to give the Supreme Lord 3 steps of land, at that time Shukracharya comes. And Shukracharya looks at Bali and says, Bali, don't give. He is the Supreme Lord. He is Vishnu himself. He's come in disguise to cheat you, to trick you. The moment you give your promise, he is going to expand in size. From Upendra, he's going to become Urukram. He's going to become Trivikram. And in 2 steps, he's going to take everything that you have. And my dear Bali, you will not have anything to give him for the 3rd step. So when Bali Maharaj heard this, he thought to himself and he told Shukracharya, what kind of guru are you? Guru means he has to help the disciple go closer to the Supreme Lord. And here the Supreme Lord has himself come to beg for alms. And here you are discouraging me from giving the Supreme Lord. What kind of guru are you? Guru means he has to encourage his disciple. Dhanani bhumam pashavascha goshte nari graha dwara janas pashane deha chitayam paraloka marge karmanu goga chhati jiva ekaha. Very interesting verse. Dhanani bhumau. So the situation here that is described is when the person leaves this world, what happens? Dhanani bhumau. Oh, whatever wealth that person has collected, what happens to that wealth? It stays in the ground. Dhanani bhumau. If it's the present day, the money stays in the bank. So in the olden day, the money would stay in the ground, but present day it stays in the bank. So when the person leaves, the money that he cherished all his life, that he collected all his life, dhanani bhumau, he cannot take a single penny. Pashavashcha goshte, and all the cows and calves, or all the cars and motorcycles that he possessed, they're all in the parkway. Not even a single car or motorcycle, or not even a single penny can that person take. Dhanani bhumau pashavashta goshte nari grihadwara jana smashane. And the nari, that means the wife, when the husband leaves, as far as Indian culture, when the body of the husband is taken, the wife can only come till the doorstep. So even one's own wife cannot come to the cremation ground. She can only come to the doorstep. And Jana Smashane, the relatives can come only to the cremation ground. Deha Chitayam, and one's own body can be taken only till the pyre. So to repeat, dear devotees, Dhanani Bhumau, the money remains in the ground. Pashavashta Goshte, the cows and the animals and the motorcycles, they all remain parked in the parkway. Dhanani Bhumau Pashavashta Goshte, Nari Graha, Dwara Jana Smashane, and the wife can come only till the doorstep. And the relatives, the family members, they can come only till the cremation ground. Deha Chitayam, the body can come only till the pyre. Deha Chitayam, Paraloka Marge, Karmanugoga Chati Jiva Ekaha. But the Jiva all alone goes to the next body, goes to the next universe, based on the transcendental bank account that he has amassed, based on the spiritual pious credits that the Jiva has amassed. Only based on that factor, the Jiva goes to the next world. It's not the money that he takes, it's not the wife, it's not the cows and the cattle, it's not his family members, it's not even his body, but it's only the transcendental bank account. And here you are telling me not to give my opulence, not to give my wealth to the Supreme Lord? What kind of guru are you? So Bali Maharaj rejected Shukracharya because he was acting as an impediment. He rejected Shukracharya and he chanted the mantras and he gave the promise to the Supreme Lord. The moment Bali Maharaj gave the promise, like Shukracharya said, the Supreme Lord began to expand in size. From Upendra, he began to expand and expand and expand, and he became Trivikram, he became Urukram. He became gigantic in size. And in the first step and in the second step, the Lord completely acquired everything that Bali Maharaj had in his possession. He snatched everything that Bali had in just 2 steps, to such an extent, the nail of the Supreme Lord in the second step, it pierced the material shell. And Gangaji descended down. भागीरथी सुखदायिनी माता तव जल महिमा निगमे क्या था ना हम जाने तव महिमानम पाहि कृपा महिमाम अज्ञानम. Bhagirathi, Gangaji descended in the second step when the nail pierced the material shell. Chala yasi vikramane bhalimad vamana Pada nakha nirajanita janapavana Keshavadrita vamana rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. Again the same point Jayadev Goswami makes. Pada nakha nira. In the second step, the nail of the Supreme Lord, it pierced the material shell. And Gangaji descended. And Gangaji washed the lotus feet of the Lord. So in just 2 steps, the Lord snatched everything that Bali possessed. And now, because Bali had promised 3 steps, dear devotees, Bali did not have anything to offer to the Supreme Lord. So when the Lord saw that Bali does not have anything, the Lord, he says, Pratishrutam adhataste niraye vasa ishyate. O Bali, Pratishrutam adhataste. You promised me 3 steps of land, but in 2 steps I have taken everything. That means you cheated me. You said 3 steps, but in 2 steps I've taken everything. Where should I keep my 3rd step? Niraye vasa ishyate. You cheated me. You have not fulfilled your promise. And for this reason, Bali, I punish you. What is the punishment? Niraye vasa ishyate. So Niraye in Sanskrit means hell. Vasa ishyate. So Bali, the punishment for you is you should go and live in hell. Dear devotees, this is what the Lord means externally. The Lord says, Parokshavadam mama priyam. For the Supreme Lord, indirect speech is very dear to his heart. So externally he meant that, oh Bali, you should go and live in hell. But this is not what the Lord meant. And our dear Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he comes at this point and he gives a very, very, very fantastic commentary. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, what to speak of a pure devotee? Even Bhakta Abhas, even a resemblance of a Bhakta, even a resemblance of a Bhakta cannot go to hell. What to speak of Bali Maharaj? We see in the pastime of Haridas Thakur, when Haridas Thakur was speaking about the glories of holy name with Gopal Chakravarti, Haridas Thakur makes this point, what to speak about Shuddha Nam? Even Nam Abhas has so much Shakti that it can grant liberation. So similarly, what to speak of a pure Vaishnav? Even Bhakta Abhas doesn't go to hell. What to speak of Bali, who is a Paramhamsa Mahabhagat Vaishnav, who is a Mahajan? How can the Supreme Lord send him to hell? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, no, this is not what the Lord means. There is a very indirect speech that the Lord is using. Pratishrutam adhataste niraye vasa ishyate. Now in Sanskrit, there is a rule where the ra can be interchanged with a la. Wherever there is a ra, it can be interchanged with a la. So now Vishwanath Chakravarti says, niraye vasa ishyate means Bali, the Supreme Lord is telling Bali, my dear Bali, go and live in hell. But when you replace the ra with a la, dear devotees, it becomes nilaye. From niraye, it becomes nilaye. And nilaye in Sanskrit means a house. So the Supreme Lord is saying, my dear Bali, go and live in the house. So naturally the question arises, which house is Vamandev referring to? Because he has taken in 2 steps, he has taken everything that Bali possesses. So which is the house that he is referring to? And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, there is only one house that is remaining, the house of the Supreme Lord. So at this point, Vishwanath Chakravarti is making this point that what Vamandev wanted to mean is, my dear Bali, you have given everything that you have and you do not have anything else to provide to me. For this reason, because you have completely surrendered yourself, nilaye vasa ishyate, please go and live in my abode, that is Vaikuntha. So this is a very interesting commentary that Vishwanath Chakravarti gives. So at this point, when the Supreme Lord expands in size and he becomes Urukram, he becomes Trivikram, Bali's sister, that is Ratnamala, when she saw initially Vamandev as a small, chubby, radiant boy, her Vatsalya was increasing. Her motherly affection was increasing. But at that point, when the Supreme Lord increased in size, she became so angry because the Lord increased in size and he took everything that Bali possessed. So as a sister, she was very angry. That Vatsalya that she had in her heart turned into anger. And she looked at the Supreme Lord Vamandev and said, hey, this person came as a small boy and now seems like he's cheated. My brother, he has increased in size and seems like he's cheated. How I wish I give poison and kill him. So the Supreme Lord, as Paramatma, he understood this bhav. And dear devotees, Ratnamala incarnated as Putana. Because she had the desire of motherly affection, she came as a mother. And because Ratnamala wanted to give poison, Putana came in the disguise of a very beautiful lady in the form of a mother who came to give poison to Krishna. So it is very important, dear devotees, as to what we think when we come in front of the Supreme Lord. What we think when we come in front of the deities. Krishna says, Ye yathamam prapadyante. Whatever we desire, whatever is there in our heart, the Supreme Lord grants, even if the desire is demoniac, as that of Ratnamala. So Ratnamala, Bali's sister, reincarnated as Putana in Krishna Lila. So the Lord took away everything, and because Bali did not have anything to provide, Bali asked the Lord, he beseeched the Lord that, my dear Lord, please accept me. You have accepted everything that I possess, but please accept me. That will be the hallmark of my bhakti. And the Supreme Lord very kindly agreed and placed his lotus feet on the head of Bali Maharaj, and he pushed him to Sutal Lok. And as promised, the Supreme Lord, he became a doorkeeper of Bali Maharaj. And wherever the Lord is present, that place is not different from Vaikunta. So that's how we reconcile what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said about Nilaye Vasa Ishyate. The Supreme Lord was present as a doorkeeper. And for many, many, many years, Bali Maharaj was ruling in Sutal Lok and was living a very opulent life. So this is a characteristic, dear devotees. Whatever the circumstances pure devotees are in, they are not affected by it. Narayana para sarve na kutaschana bibyate swarga apavarga narakeshu apitulyartha darshanam. For the pure devotees of the Lord, swarga apavarga narakeshu apitulyartha darshanam. For them, everything is same, whether it is heaven, whether it is Bhumandal, or whether it is the lower planetary systems. Till the time they can serve the Supreme Lord, till that time they can serve the devotees of the Supreme Lord, till that time the devotees are ready to go anywhere, and for them all the planets are equal till the time the Lord is present with them. So dear devotees, in this way, Vamandev, he becomes the doorkeeper of Bali Maharaj, and Bali Maharaj for many years he rules Sutal Lok. But this was as far as the pastime is concerned, which we have heard many times on the appearance day of Vamandev. But our life and soul are Radha and Krishna. Few days back we celebrated Radhashtami. So it's very difficult to switch the mood from Radhashtami to Vamandev. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would say, Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayastad Dhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kajit Upasanam Brajavadhum Varghenaya Kalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumarto Mahan Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Matamidam Tatra Dhara Napara. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would say that our goal is Radha and Krishna. We worship Krishna and Vrindavan. For us, Krishna and Vrindavan is everything. Radharani and Krishna of Vrindavan, for us, they're everything. So at this point, dear devotees, for the last 10 minutes or so, I would want to share a very beautiful realization of His Grace Sripad Aindra Prabhu, where Prabhuji draws beautiful parallels of the pastime of Vamandev with the pastime of Krishna and Vrindavan. This is something which I heard and I thought of sharing because it draws beautiful parallels as to how there are same points, same pastimes, same themes in both these Leela of Vamandev and Krishna and Vrindavan. So let us begin, dear devotees. So those who have a book and a pen, I would encourage to write it down. There are about 10 points or so, but it is very good to go through them after the class, just to draw parallels between these two pastimes of Vamandev and Krishna and Vrindavan. So the first point is the Supreme Lord. He appeared as a 400 form to Mother Aditi. When Aditi besieged to the Supreme Lord, she performed the Payovrata sacrifice. The Lord appeared as a 400 form. And similarly in Krishna Leela, the Lord first appeared as a 400 form to Devaki. So this is the first similarity we find in both the pastimes. The second Mother Aditi was shackled by her own family members. Why? Because we find Kashyapa Muni has two wives, Diti and Aditi. Aditi is the mother of the demigods, while Diti is the mother for the demons. So this whole drama unfolded because of the sons of Diti who were demoniac in nature. So Aditi was shackled by her own family members, and likewise, Devaki was shackled by her own family member, that is her own brother, Kamsa Maharaj. So two similarities till now, dear devotees. First, the Lord appeared as a 400 form to Aditi, and he also appeared as a 400 form to Devaki. Second, the Lord, for Mother Aditi, she was shackled by her own family members, and likewise, Devaki was also shackled by her own family members. Point number 3. As far as Aditi is concerned, Vaman Dev, he first appeared in the mind of Kashyapa Muni, and then in the womb of Mother Aditi. And interestingly, in Krishna Lila, we find the same thing, dear devotees. The Supreme Lord first appeared in the mind of Vasudeva, and then in the womb of Mother Devaki. So this question is sometimes asked that, oh, why did Krishna appear in the mind? He could have directly appeared in the womb. What was the significance for appearing in the mind of Vasudeva? Krishna was fed up hearing that, oh, with our mind we cannot catch him, with our mind we cannot catch him, with our mind we cannot catch him. So Krishna wanted to show to the world that if your mind is as pure and as clean as Vasudeva Maharaj, then I myself will personally come and catch your mind and will enter your mind. For this reason, the Supreme Lord, he enters the mind of Vasudeva. This is one understanding. Second understanding is, in this world, we find that if we associate with one person for quite some time, it's only a matter of time that we will imbibe all his qualities. If we associate with a drunkard, it's only a matter of time that we are going to become drunkards. So Krishna was thinking to himself that in Vrindavan, I am going to be restless, I am going to be mischievous, I am going to be naughty. So I have to associate with someone who's very naughty, who's very mischievous, who's very restless. And for this reason, Krishna decided to enter the mind, because the mind is the most restless in the whole of human body. Chanchalopi Mana Krishna. The mind is chanchal, very flickering, very restless. So for this reason, Krishna enters the mind. So this is a third similarity. The Lord first entered the mind of Kashyapa and then the womb of Aditi. And likewise, the Lord first entered the mind of Vasudeva and then entered the womb of Mother Devaki. Fourth similarity, when Vamandev appeared, we saw that all the demigods, they were eager to offer whatever they had in the form of straw belt, in the form of deer skin, whatever they had, they offered everything. All the demigods were present when Vamandev appeared. And similarly, we find in Krishna Lila, when Krishna appeared in the jail, our acharyas say all the 33 crore demigods were present in the jail to celebrate the appearance of Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. So another similarity, 4 similarities we have seen till now. Fifth similarity, dear devotees, the Lord, when he appeared as Vamandev, he immediately left the heavenly planet to come to Bhumandal. And likewise, when Krishna appeared in this world, he left Mathura to come to Vrindavan. So you see 5 similarities. Both these pastimes of Vamandev and Krishna Lila are going side by side. There are so many parallels that we can draw. So Vamandev, he leaves the heavenly planets and he comes down to Bhumandal. And likewise, Krishna leaves Mathura and comes to Vrindavan. Now, dear devotees, we go into the Madhurya aspect. How we can see this pastime of Bali and Vaman from the eyes of Madhurya Ras, from the eyes of a Brajavasi. Bali Maharaj, his surrender to the Supreme Lord, Vamandev. This surrender was inherited by Srimati Radharani. He inherited this surrender from Srimati Radharani. Whatever devotion that Bali Maharaj had in his heart, it comes from Srimati Radharani, because whatever devotion anyone has in this world is because of Srimati Radharani. So she is the topmost, she is the zenith of pure love. So if Vamandev represents Krishna, then Bali's surrender towards Vamandev represents the surrender of Srimati Radharani, represents the love of Srimati Radharani. Now, dear devotees, when Vamandev appeared, he left heaven to come to Bhumandal only to see Bali Maharaj. And likewise, Krishna left Mathura to go to Braj Mandal only to see Srimati Radharani. So this is an interesting parallels we see as far as the Madhurya Ras is concerned, dear devotees. Vamandev, he left his heavenly abode to come down to see Bali Maharaj. And likewise, the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, he left Mathura to come to Vrindavan to meet or to see Srimati Radharani. Now in this pastime of Bali and Vaman, we have the personality Shukracharya. Shukracharya was acting as an impediment. He was not allowing Bali Maharaj to surrender his life and soul to the Supreme Lord, Vamandev. And in Krishna Leela, who is that personality who signifies this mood of Shukracharya? Oh, well, it is Jatila. Jatila, the word Jata means matted locks. So Jatila is that personality who will, even straightforward things, she will make it very crooked. She will overthink. She will overcook a simple analogy. She will make it into dreadlocks. So she's called as Jatila. So just like Shukracharya was acting as an impediment to Bali Maharaj, who wanted to surrender to Vamandev, likewise Jatila was stopping Srimati Radharani from meeting Krishna. Isn't this a very beautiful understanding, dear devotees? Bali Maharaj, he wanted to give everything to the Supreme Lord as Vamandev, but Shukracharya was acting as an impediment. And likewise in Krishna Leela, we see Radharani wanted to give everything to the Supreme Lord as Shri Krishna, but Jatila would always stop her from meeting the Supreme Lord. Point number 9, dear devotees. When Shukracharya stopped Bali Maharaj, what did Bali Maharaj do? Bali Maharaj rejected Shukracharya, because that guru who doesn't encourage the disciple to surrender to the Supreme Lord, he is not a bona fide guru, but he is bogus. So Bali Maharaj, he rejected Shukracharya, and likewise, dear devotees, the gopis, they rejected their family, they rejected their husbands, because they were not allowing them to surrender their heart, their life and soul at the lotus feet of Shri Krishna. So 9 similarities we have seen till now. And the last, dear devotees, and the most important, when the Supreme Lord as Vamandev, he took 2 steps and there was no place for the 3rd step, Bali Maharaj was ready to offer his life and soul. He told the Supreme Lord that, my dear Lord, please place the lotus feet. Please place your lotus feet upon my head and thus purify my existence. Where is this mood coming from, dear devotees? This mood of hankering for Krishna's lotus feet. This is coming from Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani very beautifully chants, Pranata Dehinam Papakarshanam Trinacharanukam Sriniketanam Fani Fanarpitam Te Padam Bhujam Krina Kuche Shuna Krendirich Srimati Radharani is saying, my dear Lord, Pranata Dehinam Papa Karshanam, the quality of your lotus feet is it washes away all the sins that the jiva has. Pranata dehinam papa karshanam trinacharanukam sriniketanam. And that tender baby lotus feet, they're walking behind the cows and calves when Krishna goes for Gocharan. And Sriniketanam, they are the treasure of Sri Lakshmi ji. Fani Farnarpitam Te Padam Bhujam. My dear Lord, you also place your lotus feet on Kalia. That Kalia who was poisoning Yamuna, you also showered his lotus feet, your lotus feet upon his head. You decorated his hoods by your lotus feet imprint. Kruna Kuche Shuna, my dear Lord, when will that day come when you will bless us with your lotus feet? When will that day come in our life when we will get the supreme treasure of your lotus feet? So this mood of hankering for Krishna's lotus feet is coming from Radharani. So what did Vamandev do? Bali Maharaj, he gave everything to the Supreme Lord, but Vamandev still did three things. He bound him up, he pushed him to hell, and third, he became his doorkeeper, or he became his watchman. And dear devotees, this is exactly what Krishna did in Krishna Leela. The Brajavasis gave everything to Krishna. The Brajavasis gave their body, mind, and words. They gave their BMWs to Krishna. But what did Krishna do? Krishna accepted all of that. He accepted all the love of the Brajavasis. But he bound them in the ropes of prema. He bound them in the ropes of love, just like Vamandev bound Bali Maharaj. And what happened in the pastime of Bali? After being bound, he was pushed to hell. And likewise, Krishna, after the Brajavasis surrendered everything, after they rejected their family, and after Krishna bound them with the ropes of prema, Krishna left Vrindavan to go to Mathura. Vrindavan without Krishna was like hell for the Brajavasis. And just like Vamandev pastime, Krishna was doing the same thing here in this pastime of Krishna Leela. And finally, in the pastime of Vamandev, the Supreme Lord understands and he becomes his watchman, or he becomes his doorkeeper. And even in Krishna Leela, Krishna understands. And Jayadev Goswami in his Gita Govinda, he makes this point that Krishna, he comes out, he comes to the Kunja, he comes to the groves of Srimati Radharani and begs outside Srimati Radharani's Kunja to ask Srimati Radharani, my dear Radharani, please engage me, please accept me, please give me the dust of your lotus feet. Krishna is asking Srimati Radharani. So like in the pastime of Bali and Vaman, Krishna, he becomes a doorkeeper, so to say, outside the Kunja of Srimati Radharani. And finally, to wrap up, dear devotees, the Supreme Lord as Vaman, he came as Upendra. He came as very small, the younger brother of Indra. He came as very small, but then increased in size to become Trivikram. And similarly, dear devotees, Krishna came very small. He was a cowherd boy in Vrindavan, but increased in size to become the king of Dwaraka as Dwarakadish. So in this way, this pastime of Bali and Vaman only prepares us for the 10th canto, the nectar that Shukadev Goswami is going to flood in the form of Radha and Krishna's very beautiful Braj pastime. So this pastime is the stepping stone for the pastime of Radha and Krishna. And thanks to Sripad Aindra Prabhu, from whom I heard, this pastime of Bali and Vaman can be seen from the eyes of a Brajavasi, can be seen as to how this pastime is non-different, as to how Bali's surrender is non-different from Srimati Radharani's surrender to Sri Krishna. Shri Radha Vaman Dev ki jai, Shri Bali Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari 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 Bol.